Hey guys, welcome into the 14. I'm Nick Cole, and we're breaking down each SEC football game in Week 13 from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about the Egg Bowl, which is the Ole Miss Rebels visiting the Mississippi State Bulldogs. This game's going to be played on Thanksgiving, Thursday, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Davis-Wade Stadium in Starkville, Mississippi. It's going to be televised on ESPN. From a betting perspective, this game opened with Mississippi State as a 2.5-point favorite, and as we were recording this video, it was down to 1.5. The total in this game opened at 63.5 and is down to 62. Bring in our betting analyst, Christopher Smith. Christopher, we were just talking about before we started this video. This is perhaps the game that I personally look forward to the most all season long. I love this rivalry game. What do you think? This is as entertaining of coaches as possible in this game, and we've actually got a couple of pretty good teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is a coaching matchup that if you're an SEC fan, you've probably been dreaming about for quite a while, even if you're not a fan of one of these teams. But to me, the thing that I'm excited about is, sure, you can bet on the Lions or the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. There's always some good college basketball tournaments going on. But for me, I love betting on college football. So Thanksgiving Day, the food, the family, and this game is sort of at the perfect time at 7:30. A lot of families are winding down their Thanksgiving activities for the day, crashing on the couch. So to me, it's the perfect event to bet on Thanksgiving Day. And speaking of betting on it, we'll break that down in a minute. But first, why don't you tell us about the weather and injuries in this game, as well as Nick's news and notes?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the weather in Starkville on Thursday night. We should have temperatures in the 40s. We've got a 60% chance of rains, and the wind should be between 7 and 9 miles an hour. So that's definitely something to watch as you're digesting your turkey. Check the radar down in Starkville on Thursday before you place your bet, just to make sure you're not missing something important on the rain and wind there. From an injury standpoint, let's start with Ole Miss first, because they're the one that we've been talking about the most all season with injuries. Wide receiver Jonathan Mingo played some snaps early in the Vanderbilt game, but he sat out that second half. So we'd assume that he's probably going to be ready to go for the Egg Bowl. And with that in mind, I think Ole Miss is probably as healthy as they've been all season heading into this game, at least since early in the season. Tight end Chase Rogers and offensive lineman Ben Brown are the only two starters that are missing. And that's coming off of a stretch there through the middle of the season where Kiffin's team was missing as many as 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 starters at some points on the offensive side of the ball. So it's good for them to get healthy. The Mississippi State side, they're pretty much pretty clean slate at this point. Not much news coming out of Starkville on the injury front. News and notes wise, let's just start here. I mentioned it in the open there. The Egg Bowl is probably one of the most underrated rivalry games in all of college football, in my opinion. This is the 98th Battle for the Golden Egg, which is a trophy that the team started playing for in 1927. The series itself dates back to 1901. So it makes for a really spirited event. It's really fun to watch. It's really fun to be at. One of my favorite games that I've ever gone to as a spectator. And I can't wait to get this one going. Both teams are playing really well. It's the first time that both teams will have been ranked since 2015 for this matchup. And it's actually only the 7th time in the history of this game. And we just talked about over 100 meetings between these schools. Only the 7th time that they're both ranked. Keep in mind, Chris, for everything I just pointed out, it's just football, because that's the headline that has swept the country really over the last 24 hours of the news cycle. Lane Kiffin, in the midst of what I just described as one of the most heated rivalries within a state, told everybody at his press conference that the Egg Bowl is, hey, it's just football, and you really shouldn't hate people because of where you go to school, which is actually really common sense advice. But for whatever reason, everybody's mad about it. Ole Miss fans are mad about it because he doesn't get the seriousness of it, and I'm just interested to see if that's actually how he feels, or if he's trying to get the people in Starkville to be a little bit more accepting of him as he rolls in there. They don't want any golf balls thrown at him, right, Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is sort of strange. I mean, you're probably the biggest Lane Kiffin apologist / supporter that I've met in the media, but I'm with you on this one in terms of, I don't know why people are mad at Lane for basically giving really good common sense that says maybe they should tone it down a half a notch. I haven't seen many people getting shot over this game like I have with Alabama and Auburn in the last few years. So maybe the fans are right that they aren't too over the top. Who knows? But you look at this matchup, and there's two quarterbacks that are not getting any Heisman love or any award love outside of the guys we all talk about. And I think those two guys for me are Grayson McCall for Coastal Carolina, and then there's Will Rogers. And let's talk about Will Rogers for a second. He's first in the nation in attempts, completion percentage, second in passing yards, sixth in touchdown passes. Mississippi State is seventh in time of possession, and that's with 3 service academies in Wisconsin ahead of them. So to me, this is a very bad matchup for Ole Miss's defense from a scheme perspective, because you have a defense that usually has, the base defense is 3 down linemen, and they drop a lot of guys into coverage. But the defense is designed to prevent big plays. But Mississippi State doesn't care about the big play. They want to throw, 2 or 3 yards quick, make an easy completion, run another yard or 2, and then do it again. So it's a bad matchup for Ole Miss, with one exception, and that's if Sam Williams and Cedric Johnson can consistently get quick, immediate pressure on Rogers. That's the only thing that's been able to slow him down this season. And the thing with Mississippi State is that they're vulnerable on the back end of their defense. I don't think they're very fast in the defensive backfield, and they're definitely there to get picked on if Ole Miss is able to execute. But the thing with Ole Miss is that their receivers have been injured all season. So they're probably as healthy as they've been since early in the season. A lot of those guys, I think Jonathan Mingo finally came back and played a few snaps last week. And the question is, are they rusty? Have they practiced enough together to be as in sync as they were early in the season? And also, we've heard some rumors about Lane Kiffin looking at other jobs. It's a short week. Ole Miss may get limited possessions due to the Mississippi State being able to possess the football for a long time. So the question for me is not, is Mississippi State vulnerable on the back end? It's how often and how many times will Ole Miss get the chance to actually exploit that? And then finally, I think one differentiator in this game, because the spread is less than 2 points right now, is special teams. And we all talked about the Mike Leach comments a few weeks ago about his kickers. And I think actually one of the place kickers they have is injured right now, as if that matters. If you're 50% on the year, I don't think it really matters if you're out. But in SP Plus, for example, Ole Miss is 23rd on special teams, and Mississippi State is 123rd. And it's not just the place kicking; it's the kick coverage teams, it's the return teams. Mississippi State is really, really bad and close to the bottom in the SEC in almost all of those factors. And when you look at field position or any of that in this game, when you have a game that comes down to a point or two, I think that's actually a pretty big advantage for Ole Miss. So, Nick, who are you betting on in this game and why?
Well, Christopher, before I give you my pick, I want to give our viewers an opportunity to really expand the amount of money they have to bet for Rivalry Week. Our partnership with Action 24/7 is giving us an opportunity to give a special deal for new customers. For a limited time only, get your deposit match 100% up to $800. So if you sign up today and make your first deposit using the code SOUTH14, that's SOUTH14, Action will double your money up to $800. Download the app or visit action247.com to get things started. Action 24/7 is by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. You've got action. And my action on this game, like you said, this is the perfect game to sit sort of, even if you're not going to make a serious unit bet on this one for the weekend, isn't your favorite on the card. I think you've got to put just a little bit something as you're sitting on the couch digesting that turkey, right? This is a game that you want to have a little bit something riding on one way or the other. And so I'm going to back Lane Kiffin. I'm going to take the 1.5 on the road with Ole Miss. I just think they're a little bit better team. I think both teams are playing really well. So I could see this going either way. And obviously the line reflects that. But I think that gives an opportunity for you sort of to just play a hunch in a game like this. And my hunch is that Ole Miss is looking for that 10-win season and the potential bowl game that could come with that. And in a rivalry game that needs no motivation, I think both teams will be at their best, which is why I like the under in this game, under 62. I think both of these offenses are certainly capable of taking the total over. But as we've seen in Ole Miss games over the last 5 or 6 weeks, they're actually playing games in the 40s and 50s for a total, even though they play at pace and the defense is spotty at times. So I think when you get two teams that don't like each other, they're going to be playing in a close game. I think the defenses will show up, and I think we'll see them playing enough or well enough to keep it under 62. How do you view this one?
Well, I think after the game against Vanderbilt, Matt Corral ripped into the entire offense. I think Kiffin said he wasn't so sure if he should rip his team after that game because he always does, but then Corral ended up doing it for him, and he was happy about that. The question for me is, was that because it was a look-ahead spot and because they didn't have a ton of respect for their opponent? Or is that because you have offensive linemen that have come in and out? You had receivers that have come in and out. Corral hasn't been able to practice all the time. So is it an issue that they just weren't focused, or is it an issue that the offense is just not in sync right now because of the moving parts? And also on the other side, can Ole Miss get pressure home on Rodgers and with the pass rush? So I think I'll take Ole Miss plus 1.5, even though it goes against the market, just because I think on paper, assuming that both teams are just fully 100% and playing as well as they could, that's probably what I would lean toward. But to me, this is more of a game where if you want to bet on the side, you may do well to watch a few series and kind of get a feel for how the offense and defense is looking for Ole Miss, and then maybe put in a live bet. But I am going to go over 62. I know this goes against, as you mentioned, Ole Miss has been just cashing unders with regularity. And I do think Mississippi State could put together some time-consuming drives. But Ole Miss's offense is starting to get players back. I do think that the explosive play opportunity will be there for Ole Miss. I think this is a close game, so I think both offenses will keep their foot on the pedal the whole way. So I'm actually going to go over 62 on this. But for Nicole, I'm Christopher Smith for the 14, and we'll talk to you next time.